Hey folks, Geoff Hetherington, and as usual, can you just give me a thumbs up if you can see the title slide? Great,
Yep.
terrific. Few slides to go through. Today is a mix of how to as well as a bit of aspirational stuff. I'm not going to worry about going through who I am. Most of you should know who I am by now. If not, we'll catch up later on. As usual, there will be no rainbows or unicorns, just stuff you can grab hold of and take away straight after today's session and use yourself. Here's something that I was talking to, actually, when I was in hospital last week having my hip done. I was speaking to a guy in the next room, and he was lamenting the fact that he really couldn't afford to have the time off because he felt he was stuck doing just that, or he was just born to pay bills and die. And we all get to feel that way sometimes, but I'm here to tell you that we shouldn't feel that way, and there are ways and means of getting around it. One thing is a constant, though, and that is that we have to pay our way. I was speaking to some business people a couple of weeks ago when I was up in Queensland, and they were all about trying to dodge paying tax, and they were all about trying to dodge paying people, and quite frankly, the integrity was lacking. The thing is, if you're an adult, you pay your tax, you minimize it because that's what you're supposed to do, but you don't, fight too hard not to pay your fair share. So stop looking to dodge. Just realize the fact you're not here to pay bills. You're certainly here to pay your way. There are obviously the three parts that we need to look at. There is the past, there is the present, and there is the future. And any two in combination will tell you about the third. So the past and the future will tell you what your present's looking like. Your present and your past will inform the future. So you need to always be thinking about where I am today, where have I come from, and where do I want to be in the future. There's literally 72 days left in the year. So if you haven't already, you should be starting to think about what's this year been like, this calendar year's been like for you personally and in business. You should be looking at it and taking into account what's the good, what's the bad, and what's the ugly. And there's four main areas that we should look at. Have you had trouble with cash this year? And we just heard Mark talking about COP, cost of living pressure. A lot of business people, especially small business people, have had real issues with cash flow. Lots of people have problems with overwhelm, just feeling like there's just too much they've got to do and look after, and the pressure never lets up. And often they get stuck in the weeds, so they're running around putting out fires all the time, and firefighting is not something you want to get caught with. And really, what it means for a lot of people this year has been full of feeling tired and stressed, trapped, and quite frankly, just over it. If you're feeling or have experienced any of those four things, here's a question you need to be asking yourself in these last 72 days. What is it that you're going to do that won't be the same as what you've done this year? Remember the old Einstein quote, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and repeating and expecting a different result. So if this year hasn't been everything you wanted it to be, what are the things you're going to do that aren't the same as this year? What are the things that you've done that have tripped yourself up? One of the most common things for business owners is they wear too many hats. They get stuck into doing too many things, and they disperse their energy over too many small places. And quite often they end up spending their energy on things that really don't matter in the long run. So if you find yourself wearing too many hats, one of the things you need to do is quite simply do a to-don't list and figure out all the things that have to happen in your business, figure out all the things you're doing, and subtract the things that you are doing from the things that have to be done, so you end up working on stuff which is important to the business. Greg Groschel says this: success won't come from some big step you take in the future. Success starts with small steps today. And I would urge you to do that. Start thinking about small changes you can make in your business and in your personal life that will make 2025 a much better year for you than 2024. Here's an idea that all my clients do, including Jay, is you've got to create a buffer. And the buffer is initially 3 months of operating costs for your business. And then we try and work it so you've got 6 months of operating costs of your business sitting put to one side. And the ideal is 12 months. But if you can get 3 to 6 months worth of operating costs for your business set to one side, you'd be amazed at how much less stress you feel. because, you know, if the proverbial hits the fan and you don't get another client, you've got 3 months before things go bad, or you've got 6 months. So if you haven't done it yet, you need to figure out how much does it cost you to operate your business on a monthly basis, and then figure out how you're going to increase your revenue so you can put aside 3 to 6 months worth of that and give yourself a stress-free buffer so that you can focus on more things rather than just worrying about, if I don't get that client next week, I'm going to have to shut the doors. Some of you have heard me talk before about the four numbers that all business owners should know. The first one is called Meet the Maslows. Meet the Maslows is where no one wants to be. We dip into it sometimes, but quite frankly, that's where crap is going on. You don't have any money, your cash flow is lousy, so you don't make your mortgage payment, and you stay there for about 12 weeks. Why 12 weeks? Because that's how long it will take for the car finance company or the bank to start making nasty noises about taking your home or things from you. So if you end up in Meet the Maslows, you cut everything down, you spend nothing except what's required for you to generate revenue and get out of it. It's a number you should understand. You know, if you're currently bringing in $5,000 a month, but you only need $2,000 a month to survive, there is a degree of comfort in knowing so long as you bring in $2,000 a month for 3 months, you'll probably be able to get yourself out of Meet the Maslows. That movie is where most Australians survive. It's existing. It's where you have enough monies to go to McDonald's now and again and catch a movie once a month. It's not the ideal place, but that's where a lot of people end up. Living is where I want all of us to be. Living is where your kids have great holidays, where they have great birthdays, the bills get paid on time, the bass gets paid on time, and you've got enough money coming in that you are living a life, not just existing. And the aspirational level, of course, is L-cubed, which means live a larger life. And that's where people have the yachts and all that sort of stuff. Certainly doesn't interest me. I'd rather live well, but for some people, they need to do that. Here's a thought. The 1K methods is where you have a product or service that initially earns you $1,000 a month. And by expanding your reach and getting it in front of more people, it starts generating $1,000 a week. And the ideal is to have a product or service which is generating you $1,000 a day, 7 days a week. Have a think about your business and your products and your services. What have you got that you can start selling for $1,000 a month, and then amplify it so you're selling $1,000 a week, and then work towards selling $1,000 a day online, probably, to get there. Imagine the difference it would make to your life and your business if you were selling $1,000 a week, week after week, never mind about $1,000 a day. If you haven't thought about it, do. What product have you got or service that you can start selling that will bring in $1,000 a month, then a week, and then a day? Imagine you're at the 1st of January 2025. You're facing 3 choices, and this comes from Simon Bowen, who is a fantastic visualizer of business. You have 3 choices. You can drift, you can stay the same, or you can move forward. The problem is, you know, if you move forward, that's going to happen, and that happens because you consciously have decided to make change. The second one is where you just hold on. That's where you keep doing the same thing and hoping things will change, and quite frankly, that won't work for you. And the bottom one, where you're drifting, is where you're really sitting down in the corner hoping someone else is going to save you. And I've got to tell you, no one's coming to save you. The only person who'll save you is yourself. Lots of people think if they write down their goals, that that's all they need to do. Other people think if they've got a super duper system, that's all they need. The thing is, your goals have to be part of your system, and your system has to be part of implementing your goals. So if you want to create a better 2025, be very clear about your financial goals, be very clear about your personal goals, but also be very, very clear about creating a structure or a system that's going to help you deliver them. Because without a system, goals end up just being dreams or things that just never come off. This is something I can't emphasize enough. You have to create a structure if you're going to take control of your business and your personal life. You've got to work out what you want from the next year. You've got to work out what you want for your kids or for the people that matter to you. You've got to work out how much money you want to bring in. You've got to work out what you want for your kids or for the people that matter to you. You've got to work out how much money you want to bring in. You want to work out what type of people you want to work with. You want to work out maybe why you're here, but you must have some structure. We've all heard about morning routines, you know, people like Jocko Willink and Craig Ballantyne get up at 4 a.m. and they work out for an hour, and then they write 3 hours of emails, and then they go for a run. And that's okay. I have no desire to be part of that. But the thing is, you should have some form of routine that gets you set up for the day. As you can see there, 65% of supposed successful people do some form of workout, and then they look at emails, and then they do reading, etc. You should try and structure your day to start you off so that you end up beginning the day with a sense of energy and purpose. You need to also consider structuring your business, and there's a number of ways you can do it. You can set up each day of the week as a particular theme. You might have marketing Mondays, you might have finish it Fridays, you might have client contact Thursdays. You can theme each day of the week and work on something specific. Or you might just theme weeks. There's 4 weeks on average in a month. So one week you might be focusing on marketing, and the next one on sales, and the next one on creating products. It's up to you. I work my business on a fortnightly cycle. So one week I'm very heavy with client contact, and the next week I'm heavy on creating stuff, running my business and doing things for my clients. Without exception, though, you should be spending half an hour to 45 minutes every Sunday writing down and creating what you're going to do the following week. That helps you subconsciously, because your subconscious mind switches off because it knows you've got a plan. It also means you don't waste time on Monday morning figuring out what you're going to do. The other thing is the 5 by 5, which a lot of you have heard me talk about. That's where 5 o'clock at night, you brain dump, and then you pick 5 things you'll have done by 5 o'clock the following night, and you rinse and repeat. Again, if you can start your day with a list of 5 things you want to get done in the day's going to go a lot smoother and a lot more effectively for you. The worst thing you can do is rock up Monday morning and go, what am I going to do today? Because when you think that way, guess what? You end up wasting an awful lot of time. You lose momentum and you miss opportunities. So in all this planning, though, you've got to remember this: memento vivere. You've got to remember to live. At the end of the day, we do what we do in business to support the lifestyle we want for ourselves and our loved ones. And too many people get too caught up in business and they forget about living. But by the same token, you know, this whole idea of work-life balance is BS. There's only life and where you choose to put your energies. Sometimes your energy is going to go more in business than life outside, and vice versa. But when you're doing all this planning and structuring of things, don't forget to live. You need to remember the rock story. You've heard me talk about this before. You know, what's the best way to fill things? When you're filling these jars, lots of people start off with all the small stuff. They put in the sand, and then they put in the pebbles and the smaller pebbles, and they put in the big rocks, and they all don't fit in. That's because they're doing things the wrong way about. What you do is you do the big rocks, the most important things first, and then the next important, and the next important, and then you fill it in with the tiny stuff, and everything fits in. So this means doing something like this. If you don't have a wall calendar, 365-day wall calendar, I urge you to get one and start filling it in, because this gives you a visual representation of what's going on. It also enables you to plan your year in a way that's meaningful. So what I do every year with my much better half, Lynn, is we figure out the 3 to 5 long weekends that we're going to have during the year. We figure out when we're going to have 2 weeks. 3 weeks is a better break, but we never plan on less than 2 weeks consecutively off. We put in people's birthdays. So we get all the personal stuff in. You know, Lynn's a Masters athlete, so we put in when the New South Wales track championships are on and all that sort of stuff. We put in when there's theatre shows coming up. We fill from the personal side, the important side first. And then from the business side, what you do is you put in important dates. Is there a small business week that you should be doing a promotion in? One of the regular meetings with your clients, I put board meetings in with Bendigo Bank, for instance. What promotions have you got planned? Are you doing them monthly, bi-monthly? And when do they start and when do they finish? You put those in there. Are you theming a month? You know, what payments do you have to make? When's your tax due? If you do all this and put it on a visual representation, it is much easier to have control over your business and your life. Trying to run it off a Google Calendar is a nice supplement, But guess what? You turn off your computer and you miss things. I have this on my wall and it works really well. I'd like you to challenge yourself to create yourself a larger life in 2025. This year's been crappy for an awful lot of people. If you want next year to be better, you've got to do things differently, but you need to be focusing on what's going to make next year a better year for you. Think about this. What gives you meaning? What is it that really drives you to do things that makes you feel good about yourself? We exist. We should be doing more than just paying bills, but in order to do that, we need to have some idea of what's going to light us up. Here's the thing. There's a difference between purpose and passion. One of the things that annoys me is people say, find your passion and you'll never have to work again. And they're right, because most people's passions are things that other people won't pay you to do, sadly. But you need to figure out what you're doing with your business and with your life. And hopefully you find something that you're going to get paid well for. That's something you're good at doing. That's something that you actually like doing. And hopefully it's something you enjoy. And if it really lights you up, it's a bonus. But if you're doing a business where you are literally doing it just to simply get a couple of dollars in through the door, I'd urge you to try and figure out what it is you need to change so that it lights you up more than just putting some money in your bank account. If you need some help to find your path, there's a lot of people, there's lots of books. There's a thing called Vivid Vision, which is worthwhile looking at. There's The Power of Thinking Big, which has been around since the 1950s. Fantastic book. There's lots of YouTube stuff. And hey, there's talking heads like me or Ross you can get in touch with, and we can help you try and nail something that's working there. You need to get very, very clear on what it is you want 2025 to give to you across a number of things, not just financially, but personally, in terms of personal development, maybe spiritually, if that's so inclined. The key thing is 2025 will not be better than 2024 if you don't make a plan. Most people shy away from making plans, or their idea of a plan is very complicated. Here's the simplest type of plan you can do. Know where you want to go, know where you are now, know what you have to do, and then go and do it. It's 4 simple steps, which doesn't mean it's easy. Step 3 trips a lot of people up. Know what you have to do. That's when you talk to your peers or a coach or someone to help you figure out what needs to be done. And the Nike step, which is number 4, do it. So many people fall there. But at the end of the day, there's a very simple plan that all of us can start using if we wanted to. So decide what you want next year across a number of areas, say money, personal development, those sorts of things. Map it out. But also understand this, stop and realize this, that no matter what you do while you make a plan, John Lennon said it best. Life's what happens to you while you're making other plans. Von Clausewitz, who was the famous German general back in World War I, said that no plan survives first contact with the enemy. So if you're making a plan, understand the fact that things are going to change and you have to be flexible. Here are things that could impact our business next year: the economy, political stuff. I mean, we've got Dutton and his people there, and we've got the American experience. It could be natural disasters. They're talking about this being the worst season for bushfires ever. Terrorism, thankfully, we seem to avoid most of that here. Is there another pandemic? Well, COVID's still around, folks, even though we don't read about it a lot. And cybercrime and scams. So these are things that, if you don't necessarily plan for, you should at least acknowledge are something which may affect your business next year. Thing is, if you don't plan, you might as well be standing in a rowboat in the middle of the ocean without any oars, wondering what the hell's going to happen. And if you're like that, life's going to be like this. So I'd urge you, please, today, make a commitment to planning out what's going to happen next year. Review this year, identify the things you're going to do differently. Draw a line in the sand. Take the plunge and decide that you're going to take back control of your business, of the resources you've got, and you're going to live a larger life. Because as Henry Rollins says, there's no such thing as spare time, no such thing as free time, no such thing as downtime. All you've got is lifetime. So go. Remember this: amor fati, love your fate, which of course is your life. Being still or trying to stay the same is the equivalent of death, because success loves movement. If you'd like a hand, I'd love to have a chat with you. Always get in touch with me if you want. That is the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Geoff. I'll just stop the recording at that point.